The night is silent, but within that silence, a storm breathes. You feel it, don't you? That ache behind the ribs, that quiet trembling of a heart that has seen too much yet refuses to break. You wake, not to the sound of birds, but to the weight of thought, memories, regrets, dreams that slipped through your hands like smoke. And still, you rise. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." You don't yet know what that means, but you feel it. Somewhere deep, beneath the noise of fear and the fatigue of living, you've lost things. People, moments, pieces of yourself you thought you'd never let go. But perhaps loss is not destruction. Perhaps it is transformation. The pain that bent you did not come to destroy you. It came to teach you how to bend without breaking. There are days you can't look in the mirror, days when even breathing feels like an act of rebellion. And yet, you breathe. You continue. You walk through the fire without knowing why. Maybe the reason isn't meant to come first. Maybe the reason is born from the endurance itself. Epictetus said, "We suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them." You replay the same moments, over and over, as if suffering enough times could rewrite what has already been. But the truth is simple and brutal. The past does not need your permission to exist. It already does. What it needs is your forgiveness. Not for others, for yourself. You are not the same person you were then. The mistakes that haunt you belong to a version of you that was still learning how to see, how to stand, how to survive. And still, here you are. The world has tried to harden you. But there is something in you it cannot touch, a quiet, steady flame that no wind can kill. It flickers. It dims, but it never dies. You call it strength. The Stoics called it virtue, the courage to remain calm in the chaos, the discipline to act rightly when all feels wrong, the wisdom to see that life owes you nothing, and still to love it anyway. Every pain has a voice, every scar tells a truth, but you decide what story they tell. You can let them say, "I was broken," or you can let them whisper, "I was transformed." There will be nights when no philosophy can save you, when every word feels hollow, when all that exists is the sound of your heartbeat in the dark. In those moments, remember this: you have survived every night before this one, and you are not done yet. The dawn does not ask you to be ready. It only asks that you rise. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And maybe that is why peace feels so far away. Because the mind builds prisons the body does not see, but you hold the key. Right there, between thought and breath, between what was and what is, between who you were and who you still can be. You are the fire and the ash, the ruin and the rebirth, the silence before the storm, and the calm that follows it. Every sunrise is a reminder. You are not your pain. You are the witness of it. You are the one who endures, the one who chooses meaning over misery, the one who looks at the wound and says, "I will make something sacred out of this." So walk, even when your legs shake. Speak even when your voice trembles. Love, even when your heart remembers the ache. Forgive even when your pride resists it. Because every act of endurance is an act of faith. Faith in the unseen. Faith in the becoming. Faith that one day you will look back at the storm and whisper, "I needed that wind to learn how to stand." And in that moment, you will finally understand what the Stoics meant all along. That true power is not in control, but in acceptance. The day will come when you no longer fight your reflection, when you no longer chase peace, but become it. And on that day, you will smile at the quiet, and the quiet will smile back. The air grows softer, the storm subsides, but the silence that follows feels different now. It no longer mocks you, it embraces you. You have stopped running from your thoughts. You have learned to sit with them, to watch them rise and fade, like clouds drifting across the sky. Not every thought deserves your attention. Not every emotion deserves your surrender. The Stoics called this discipline of perception, the art of seeing without being consumed. There is a strength in stillness, a kind of quiet defiance, to remain calm when all within you trembles, to choose peace not because life is easy, but because your soul is ready. You have walked through fire and realized the flames were never your enemy. They were your forge. They burned away illusion, fear, and weakness, until only truth remained. The truth that you are enough, as you are, even in your imperfection, even when the world cannot see your worth. Marcus Aurelius said, "Look well into yourself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if you will always look." You've searched for meaning in the stars, but you've begun to see It was always hidden in your own reflection. You were never lost. You were only wandering. And even wandering is a form of becoming. Every scar is a map. Every tear is a seed. Pain plants wisdom in the soil of your being. It hurts, yes, but growth always does. Now you walk differently. Not faster, not prouder, but lighter, because you carry only what matters. You've stopped trying to prove yourself to ghosts, stopped begging for understanding from those still asleep. You've realized peace is not found in being seen. It is found in seeing clearly. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." You are learning this mastery, not of the world, not of fate, but of your own mind. You do not control what comes. You control how you meet it. When anger rises, you breathe. When fear speaks, you listen, but you do not obey. You have learned the difference between reacting and responding, between emotion and essence, between noise and truth. This is freedom, not the absence of pain, but the power to remain whole within it. And now, as you walk through the ruins of who you were, you find beauty there. You find grace in the brokenness, because those ruins are not your failure. They are your foundation. You begin to see that nothing was wasted. Every heartbreak, every loss, every fall was shaping you for this quiet strength, this steady light, this calm certainty. You are no longer the person who begged for easy days. You have become the one who can endure hard ones. The Stoics did not seek comfort. They sought clarity. And now, so do you. You wake in the morning not asking, "Why me?" but whispering, "For what purpose?" Not, "What did I lose?" but, "What did I gain?" Every day becomes a lesson in gratitude. Even the hard ones, especially the hard ones. Because pain sharpened your perception. Loss deepened your compassion. Failure taught you humility. You've stopped cursing your scars. Now you trace them like sacred script. They tell the story of your becoming. You no longer wish to be unbroken. You wish to be whole. And wholeness is born not in perfection, but in acceptance. So you forgive the world. You forgive yourself. You release the weight of everything you cannot change. And suddenly, you feel lighter, not because life grew easier, but because your soul did. You understand now. Peace is not found by escaping the storm, but by learning to dance within it. There is beauty in surrender, not in giving up, but in giving in to what is. The Stoics called it amor fati, to love one's fate, not merely to accept it, but to embrace it fully, to say, "This too is mine." And in that love, you find freedom, a freedom that cannot be taken, a peace that cannot be shaken. You walk through the world quietly now, no longer needing to be right, no longer needing to be understood. You simply are, unmoved, unbroken, unafraid. There comes a moment, after the storms, after the silence, when you realize you are no longer fighting life. You are flowing with it. Each breath no longer feels like resistance, but participation. Every sunrise no longer feels like a test, but an invitation. You start to understand the subtle truth the Stoics whispered for centuries. That peace is not given. It is chosen, again and again, even in pain, even in chaos. Especially then, you have carried the weight of years, expectations, disappointments, memories that cut like glass. But somewhere along the path, you stopped asking the world to carry it for you. You learned to set it down. You began to see how much of suffering was born not from life itself, but from your attachment to how life should be, how tightly you clung to control, to certainty, to comfort. Now you see, you never needed certainty. You needed courage. Courage to stand in the unknown. Courage to walk without seeing the end. Courage to trust that whatever meets you ahead, you will meet it as you are now. Calm, grounded, unshaken. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." You no longer waste energy on storms beyond your reach. You no longer shout at the ocean to calm. You have learned to steady your own heart instead. And in that stillness, you have found something eternal. When you look at the world now, you no longer see enemies. You see mirrors. Every insult, every betrayal, every wound, a reflection of someone else's pain. You stop taking things so personally. You stop bleeding from every word, because you have learned the rare art of understanding without absorbing. This is wisdom, not intellect, not philosophy on paper, but lived clarity, birthed from suffering, tempered by solitude. You've become quiet, not out of exhaustion, but out of awareness. You have no need to prove what is already known within. And still, you feel deeply. But now your emotions no longer drown you. They pass through you, like waves through open water. You observe, you learn, You let go. The Stoics taught that the mind is a citadel, a fortress no chaos can breach unless you open the gates yourself. You have rebuilt your walls, not to keep the world out, but to keep your peace in. You know now that discipline is not denial. It is devotion. Devotion to the self you are becoming, to the peace you are protecting. You eat with gratitude. You speak with intention. You walk with awareness. Every act, however small, becomes sacred. You begin to notice beauty in ordinary things. Light falling through an old window. The rhythm of your breath, the stillness between heartbeats. Life slows down, not because it changes, but because you finally see it clearly. You realize that happiness was never something to chase. It was always something to allow. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." You have begun to live by that truth. You no longer chase what you cannot hold. You no longer beg for permanence in an impermanent world. Instead, you live fully, deeply, presently. You drink the moment as it is, not as you wish it to be. And in that acceptance, you taste freedom. Not loud, not triumphant, but quiet, peaceful, infinite. Now when pain comes again, and it will, you will not collapse. You will bow your head and whisper, "Welcome, teach me," because you know that life's harshest teachers often bring its deepest wisdoms. And when joy visits, you will hold it gently, without fear of its departure, because you've learned that even when it fades, it leaves warmth behind. You are no longer the storm. You are the sky, wide enough to hold everything, strong enough to let it pass. And when the day ends, and the stars appear again, you'll look up and smile, not because the world changed, but because you did. The night deepens, but you are no longer afraid of the dark. You sit beneath it, silent, still, unhurried. There was a time you filled silence with noise, with endless questions, with searching, with the desperate need to be somewhere, someone, something more. But now, you know better. Now you understand that the world does not owe you answers. It gives you moments, and moments are enough. You've stopped chasing meaning in faraway places. You've started to find it here, in the rhythm of your breath, in the warmth of your own hands, in the simple act of being alive. Seneca wrote, "Begin at once to live, and count each separate day as a separate life." You have begun to live this truth. You no longer wait for the right moment. You create it. You live it. You breathe it. You walk slower now, not from fatigue, but from reverence. You have seen too much loss to take time for granted. Every sunrise feels like a second chance. Every tear feels like a cleansing. Every wound feels like an opening. You no longer fight the flow of life. You no longer try to control the tide. You stand in the water and let it move through you. Cold, unpredictable, alive. There is no fear in you now, only awareness. You see that every ending was also a beginning, that every goodbye carried the seed of something new. You do not resist what leaves. You bow to it. You let it go, because you understand that what is truly meant for you will never need to be forced. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. You've realized that strength was never about holding on. It was about letting go with grace. You remember the words of Marcus Aurelius? Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs? You repeat it softly, not as resignation, but as liberation, because now, you no longer need life to be fair. You only need it to be real. And reality, in all its beauty and brutality, is more than enough. You have learned to live without armor, to open your heart without fear of breaking, to stand naked before the moment and say, "Yes, even this. This is courage. This is mastery. This is freedom." The Stoics spoke of apatheia, not indifference, but serenity, a calm heart that feels deeply, but is not ruled by feeling. You found that place within you now, not as a wall, but as a sanctuary, a quiet room within the soul, where peace lives, even when the world does not. You no longer confuse peace with comfort. You know that real peace is forged in discomfort. It is born from sitting with what hurts, until it loses power over you. The storms still come, but now, you no longer seek shelter. You open your arms. You lift your face to the rain. You whisper, "I am here." Because the goal was never to escape the storm. It was to become unshaken within it. Now, when people hurt you, you no longer return fire. You offer silence. You offer compassion, because you see their pain, and you know it's not yours to carry. You do not need to win. You do not need to prove. You do not need to be understood. You only need to be true. And truth, you've learned, is simple, soft, unpretentious. It doesn't shout. It simply is. Your reflection has changed. Not in form, but in presence. You look at yourself now and see not what you lack, but what you've become. A quiet soul, a steady flame, a mind untangled from the noise of the world. You walk through life gently now, not because it is fragile, but because you are awake. You see divinity in the smallest things. The curve of smoke rising from a cup of tea, the laughter of a child, the rhythm of rain against your window. Everything feels sacred because you finally understand. It always was. There is no destination left to reach, only this breath, this moment, this miracle of simply being here. You close your eyes, and for the first time, you don't wish for more. You whisper, "Thank you." And in that whisper, the world grows still. Time stops fighting you, and you, at last, are free. The dawn returns, slow, gentle, unhurried. Light spills across the horizon, and for once, you are not rushing to meet it. You've stopped measuring your worth by what you achieve. You've stopped chasing what was never meant to fill you. The world taught you to run, to climb, to compare, to want more. But the soul only ever wanted to be. You sit with the rising sun and realize peace was never hidden. It was only waiting for you to stop running long enough to see it. You remember when every morning felt heavy, when you woke up searching for reasons to keep going. Now you wake up and see that the reason is life itself. The simple miracle of another breath, another chance to live with intention. Epictetus said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." You have learned this slowly, painfully, but deeply. Gratitude has become your quiet prayer. You thank the pain for what it taught. You thank the losses for what they revealed. You thank the silence for what it showed you about yourself. Gratitude, you've learned, does not erase suffering. It redeems it. You no longer demand life to bend to your will. You bend with it. And somehow, in that surrender, you find more strength than you ever did in control. You once thought strength meant standing tall against the wind. Now you know it means swaying with it. Unbroken. Alive. Rooted. There is a new gentleness in your power now. You speak softly. You listen more. You move through the world not to conquer it, but to harmonize with it. You've learned that the greatest victories are invisible. The ones fought in silence, within the heart. The victory of patience over impulse, of forgiveness over pride, of calm over chaos. This is what the Stoics meant by mastery. Not dominance, not control, but balance. A steady soul in a turbulent world. You are no longer a slave to outcomes. You do what you can, and release what you cannot. And life, mysteriously, begins to flow in your favor. Because you stopped trying to force the river, you started to move with its current. There will still be pain. There will still be loss. There will still be nights that test you. But now, you meet them differently. You breathe. You remember who you are. You whisper to yourself, "This is only a moment. I am more than this." You have discovered that peace is not fragile. It is not something you must protect from the world. It is something you bring into the world. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." And so you live quietly, consistently, kindly. You give without expecting. You love without owning. You walk away without hatred. You no longer need to announce your growth. You embody it. You move through the crowd unseen, yet felt, a calm presence in a restless world. A reminder that peace is possible. Even here, even now. You look at others and see not enemies or competitors, but fellow travelers, each carrying unseen battles, each seeking light in their own way. You offer compassion, not because it is deserved, but because it is who you have become. And when your mind tries to wander to the past, you guide it home gently. When it races toward the future, you call it back to now. This moment is all you truly own. You breathe it in fully, with awareness, with gratitude, with peace. The world spins, the seasons change, people come and go, but your center remains, calm, present, unmoved. You are no longer chasing meaning. You are creating it with every choice, every act, every breath. And someday, when you are gone, you will leave behind no monument, no echo of fame, but you will leave peace in the hearts you touched. And that will be enough, because a life well lived is not one that is loud, but one that is true. And as the sun rises higher, you close your eyes, you smile, you whisper to the universe, I have learned to live. And the universe answers, quietly, welcome home. The day unfolds slowly, not with urgency, but with rhythm. The rhythm of breath, of being, of awareness. You walk through the world lighter now. The weight that once pulled at your soul has become your teacher. You no longer curse it. You carry it with reverence. Pain no longer defines you. It refines you. It shapes your edges, smooths your pride, and deepens your compassion. You've come to understand that wisdom is not found in knowing much, but in needing little. There was a time you filled your life with noise, endless words, distractions, shadows of importance. Now, you seek silence, because silence speaks truths words cannot. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." You have learned not to waste it anymore. You do not rush. You do not postpone peace for a future that may never come. You live, here, now. You no longer chase happiness. You cultivate it, quietly, patiently, through gratitude, through discipline, through presence. You have realized that discipline is love. Love for your future self. Love for your potential. Love for the order that keeps chaos from consuming you. Every morning, you rise before the world wakes. You breathe deeply. You remind yourself, I cannot control what happens today, but I can control how I meet it. And in that simple truth, you find infinite freedom. You are no longer the same soul that once feared failure. You've learned that failure is not the end. It's the beginning of understanding, the moment when truth reveals what comfort hides. You no longer run from difficulty. You welcome it as a teacher, because you know the obstacle is the path, always. And peace does not need validation. It only needs practice. You spend time alone now, not because you are lonely, but because solitude is sacred. It's in solitude that your thoughts settle, that your soul realigns with what is eternal. You've learned to sit quietly and listen to the whisper of your own being, to feel your heartbeat as proof that you are part of something vast, something divine. There is no rush to be elsewhere. You have arrived, at yourself. You remember the nights when you prayed for peace, when you begged the heavens to remove your pain. And now, you see the miracle. Peace didn't come instead of pain. It came through it. Your scars no longer haunt you. They guide you. Each one a reminder that you were tested, and you endured, that you fell, and you rose. You have become both student and teacher. The pain taught you wisdom. The healing taught you grace. And now your life teaches others what strength in silence looks like. You do not preach. You do not command. You simply embody. And through that presence, others remember their own power. You've learned the subtle art of detachment, not from life, but from illusion. You engage with the world, yet remain untouched by its chaos. You no longer need everything to go your way. You only need to stay true to your way. Epictetus said, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. And so you do. In how you speak, in how you love, in how you forgive. Your peace has become your rebellion. In a world that feeds on noise and outrage, you choose calm. You choose understanding. You choose presence. This is your quiet revolution. And as you move through the hours, you begin to sense something deeper, a connection between all things, between joy and sorrow, light and shadow, life and death. They are not opposites. They are partners, two hands of the same divine body. And when night falls again, you will not resist it. You will welcome it as you welcome dawn, because you finally know it is all part of the same eternal rhythm. And within that rhythm, you are at peace. You close your eyes. The air is still. The heart is calm. And somewhere within the silence, you hear the faintest whisper. You have become the person you once prayed to meet. The night deepens again, but this time it feels different. No longer a place of fear, but a sanctuary, a vast stillness that welcomes you home. You sit beneath the stars, and you feel something ancient stirring in your chest. Not longing, not sadness, just awareness. The awareness of being a small part of something infinite. The air is cool. The world is quiet. And for the first time, you understand what the Stoics meant when they spoke of harmony with nature. You are not separate from this world. You are woven into it. You breathe because the trees give you breath. You live because the stars burned long enough to become your blood. You are not an observer of existence. You are existence itself, in human form. And with that realization, the burden you carried for years, the weight of needing to matter, fades away. You do not need to prove your worth. You were born worthy. The mere fact that you breathe is proof that you belong here. You've stopped asking, What is my purpose? You've started asking, how can I live with purpose? And that small shift has changed everything. Your days no longer blur together. Each one feels intentional. You move slower. You listen deeper. You love more quietly, but more completely. There is no rush to reach the end. You have learned to love the middle, the becoming, the unfolding. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." You carry these words like prayer beads. You remind yourself that every day is borrowed light, and so you live it fully, not in indulgence, but in gratitude. You no longer fear death. You understand now that death is not the opposite of life. It is its completion, the final note in the song that gives meaning to the melody. You see it in the falling leaf, in the fading flame, in the slow dimming of the sky. Everything ends, but nothing is lost. It only changes form, and so will you. You stop clinging to what fades. You bless it as it goes. Because now you know, letting go is not the same as losing. It is trusting that what is gone has done its work. You forgive more easily, not because people deserve it, but because peace does. You look back on your life and no longer see mistakes. You see patterns. You see lessons disguised as pain. Teachers wearing the faces of heartbreak, failure, and loss. Each one leading you here, to this moment, to this breath, to this clarity. You used to pray for a lighter burden. Now you thank life for stronger shoulders. You used to chase meaning in grand things. Success, recognition, approval. Now you find it in the smallest acts. A kind word, a patient silence, a sincere smile. You realize that greatness was never about scale. It was about sincerity, about doing small things with immense presence. Seneca said, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." You smile now when you read that, because you understand life is not something to master. It is something to experience, to dance with, to surrender to. There is nothing left to chase. There is only this moment, this breath, this peace. You have walked through pain, through fear, through solitude and silence, and found yourself waiting on the other side. Not perfect, not invincible, but whole. You no longer need to be the strongest. You only need to be true. You no longer seek to impress. You seek to express, to live in harmony with what you are. And that, at last, is enough. The stars above you shimmer faintly. You close your eyes. A slow smile forms, not of pride, but of peace. Because now you know, you have nothing left to prove, nothing left to fear, nothing left to run from. You are home, not in a place, not in another, but in yourself. You have become what you sought, the calm after chaos, the light within shadow, the peace after pain. And as the world turns quietly beneath you, you whisper the final truth. The fire that once burned to destroy me, now burns to guide me. You exhale, the night exhales with you, and everything, at last, is still.